This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. I'm really proud of this. So we're back to the classics, baby! I've done gender-bent Twilight, I've done Twilight from Edward's perspective, I've done the insanity of Breaking Dawn. So now it's time to go all the way back to the second one, because I just skipped the middle entirely. So we're talking about New Moon, the movie and the book. Now I know that New Moon wasn't super popular with a lot of people. The people who wanted a lot of Edward were upset, the people who wanted a lot of the vampires were upset, and by the end of it, the people who were Team Jacob were upset. But I always loved New Moon the second best in the series. I have maintained that Twilight as a franchise is best when it's steeped in melodrama, and my goodness, the tea in this is strong. Get it? Because it's been steeped for so long? Yeah, okay, I'll stop. So I was really excited to revisit it, you know? I always thought that if I wrote my own Alice/Bella fanfiction, it would kick off right from when Alice comes back in New Moon. And honestly, on this reread, I think I found even more compelling evidence that Stephanie, though accidentally, wrote them just a little bit or a lot of bit in love. Someday I need to compile all the evidence into one single video because I thought it was mostly in Midnight Sun, but it is everywhere. But this is the ultimate book of teen melancholy. This is how we all felt when we lost our first loves, personified to the extreme. We all wish we could have just laid on the floor for a week, but you know, parents ask questions. Before we start, I touched on this in my Midnight Sun video, but it's very important to remember that the Quileute tribe is very real and has been heavily affected by Twilight with no real benefit. Because they haven't made any of the millions of dollars that Twilight has generated, even though their culture has been heavily used and altered for these stories, but particularly in New Moon and Eclipse. The book and the movie both start with a quote right out of Romeo and Juliet. And as someone who just watched a modern retelling of that told through cell phones and Instagram called #J, I've got to say that Kristen Stewart is significantly better at that line delivery. Romeo and Juliet sets the tone for this movie pretty perfectly. They really had to drive it home so that you'd know it was intentional and not just something she was doing and hoping no one would notice. So a scene of her running frantically through Italy flips to her seeing her grandmother in the meadow before she quickly realizes, oh shit, that's a mirror, I'm old as hell, I'm basically Edward's gilf. But it's just a nightmare, though it is her birthday, and she is the ancient age of 18.
I thought we agreed no presents.
The one from me's not wrapped, so it doesn't count.
Man, I fucking love Charlie. I mentioned this in my overall Twilight video that I made back before I realized how much of a foothold this whole thing was gonna take on my life, but he is a constant, fantastic character in Twilight. He's just trying his best. And the reason why she's so upset is because Edward, though actually over 100 years old, was turned when he was 17. Stephanie has said that once you get turned, you freeze at that age, so to her, she's now officially older than Edward.
Date an older woman? Huh?
Maybe I shouldn't be dating such an old man. It's gross.
Well, at least the screenwriters thought to address it. I don't care. I'm on board with the vampires. So she gets to school, and in the book, Alice is right there waiting for her just to share all of the birthday cheer that Bella doesn't want. But the movie decides to have Jake show up to give her a gift, probably so it doesn't seem so random and shitty when Bella halfway through the story is like, oh, I should get Jake to help me with risking my life. And Edward is not at all a fan. Presumably because he can read Jacob's mind, and I can only imagine what a 16-year-old boy is thinking about his crush. But don't worry, in the movie, Alice is still eager to talk to Bella about the birthday plans. She does this very discreet jump off the banister to corner her with gifts and party plans. So much for keeping it low-key in front of the humans, but I love it. And while Bella is worried about the party and would rather just ignore her birthday altogether, Alice hits her with the, what's the worst that could happen? Well, we'll get there. But they added in a scene here with Jasper joking around with Bella, probably to humanize him a bit so him looking like he needs to take a painful shit isn't our reference point for his interactions with Bella. So it's time for some more R&J, and we get this scene where Edward flawlessly delivers some Shakespeare, other than the fact that he obsessively blinks every time he's speaking. And I don't know why, maybe it's the contacts. That's probably why they look so pained all the time. These contacts are horrible. I don't know why they had to make them so that. But before this, Edward was talking about how easy Romeo had it in the suicide department, and if Bella had been killed by James, he would have had to go to great lengths to off himself in his misery. In the book, specifically saying, well, I wasn't gonna live without you. As if that's a good thing to put on your teenage girlfriend. Very healthy relationship. There's also a moment around here in the book where Bella thinks that Charlie's really not the biggest fan of Edward, but he's crazy about Alice. So are we, Charlie. So are we.
Apparently they got close after Bella needed help showering last year. It's trying to kill me.
But the big point of contention in this story is Bella's mortality. Which makes sense. She wanted Edward to turn her at prom at the end of the last movie, so obviously the older she gets, the more intense she is about it. And Edward hates it, immediately wants her to drop it, so then Bella's like, well, maybe Alice will give me what I want. Stephanie, that had to be intentional! But they get to the Cullens, and Alice has gone all out. There's roses in glasses everywhere. There's paper lanterns on the porch. Just a beautiful, genuine effort.
But it's my job to protect you from everyone except my sister.
Oh, please, just let your sister have her.
It's time, it's time, it's time.
So it points out again that Jasper is keeping his distance because he's the newest member to the lifestyle, so it's hard to be around her. But Jasper can feel and influence emotions, so maybe he can feel the fact that his wife is in love with her best friend. I'll stop, I'm sorry. And Bella always has accidents, so of course she gets a paper cut opening one of the presents. And this is the most fierce paper cut ever, but it immediately sets everything off. Jasper's about to run at her. Edward pushes her back and then gets everybody to try to stop Jasper, but he pushes her back with such force that she crashes into glass, cuts open her arm. The whole family's holding off Jasper, and then we get...
It's okay. It's just a little blood.
Guess Alice can't see clumsiness, but I love this scene where she's just looking up and all the vampires just slowly turn to her like sharks. But Carlisle, who is a doctor and fine around blood, manages to get a hold on this situation, and while Edward is standing there catatonic, Alice is on the ball getting a medic bag and offering help. Even though her husband is clearly dealing with some inner turmoil of trying to kill his wife's best friend and overall ashamed, Alice chooses to be around Bella at least for a couple minutes before she has to tap out. In the movie, she leaves pretty much instantly, but I need everyone to know that in the book, she tried. Like in the book, they make Edward leave to go talk to Jasper before Alice dips. But Bella and Carlisle get to talking about how he manages to control himself so well and how Edward was changed, that he believes that they're soulless and damned, and that's why he won't change Bella. And after she's all patched up, Edward's even more brooding than he was in the first book. Now in the movie, it's the very next day that Edward's like, hey, look, I'm leaving. In the book, he hangs around for 2 to 3 days just dragging out the misery before he cuts her loose. But she gets back from school and he's just been there all day taking back all the gifts, hiding them, so it was like he was never there and it's a clean break. Okay, when she was 17, she found out that vampires were real. She fell in love with one almost killed her, and now she has a permanently cold scar on her wrist from where that vampire tried to kill her. I don't think she's gonna forget, you guys. So that started off with a very awkward moment where Bella was like, oh, we're leaving? Okay, just give me a second, I gotta come up with a lie for Charlie. But hey, I get it. The day before he was saying he was gonna off himself if he had to live in a world without her, and today he's like, no, I don't want you. You're just a human. This went on for too long. In the book, he specifically says my kind were very easily distracted with a smirk, as if the past 8 months were just a little phase for him. So she's obviously crushed. And in the book, when she realizes that the rest of the Cullens are already gone, she specifically says Alice isn't coming back. Alice is gone. My voice black with disbelief. Okay, I'm sorry. I said I'd stop, but like, come on. So he disappears in the woods, even though he left her in full sight of her house. She obviously tries stumbling around after him, trips a bunch until she finally just stays down. And girl, same. I've been there. I was cool for the romance stuff to take a little bit of a break because it means we got some primo melodrama. Okay, look, the mid-2000s were just not a good time. Though I will say, when I first started rereading this book, Bella being into Edward felt weird because I'd been reading so much Bella and Alice fanfiction for another video, obviously. But yeah, so she's laying on the forest floor as the rain hits her in the face. She starts hearing some snarfing before Sam Yulee finds her and carries her back to safety. Now in the movie, he's shirtless. And I assume that in this particular situation, when you're wandering through the woods looking for the police chief's daughter, that you'd put your shirt back on after you transformed out of wolf mode. Oh, I'm sorry, we haven't gotten there yet. I'm wrongfully assuming everyone knows where this, you probably know where, you know where this is going? Anyways, but the fact that there had to be people watching this for the first time with no reference to the source material just being like, why is he shirtless? But then we get my favorite moment in the book. I wish I could go back to fully remember what my first experience was, but I remember being completely shocked at how much time had passed. I was crushed. Like, you're reading this book, and suddenly you just get a page that says October, November, December, January. And the movie actually managed to capture this with absolute perfection. This is no joke, one of my favorite movie scenes ever. But in the movie, she chooses Alice to send emails to. Even though they don't send, seems like the screenwriters might be on our side too. Logically, it's so we can get Bella's inner monologue, but we've never needed an excuse for that before, and we don't need an excuse for it later, so I'm just saying that I think one of the screenwriters was Team Alice.
The pain is my only reminder that he was real. That you all were.
The melodrama. I love it. But Charlie is way out of his depths here and wants to insist that she go to Jacksonville to be with her mom. And I guess in the book, her mom actually came down to take her back pretty early on. And then Bella pitched a fit and threw all of her stuff around the room. Still didn't make her go talk to someone though. Like, she's waking herself up screaming every single night. She needs some assistance here, people. But to appease Charlie, she's like, oh no, don't worry. I'll go see a movie with Jessica tonight. I was totally planning on doing that. And at this point, Bella apparently hasn't spoken to anyone since Edward left. So Jessica's a little bit offended, but still decides to go with her. And she picked Jessica because she knew Jessica would be too self-centered to ask too many questions versus Angela, who would definitely be the better friend. Which means we get the charming nature of Anna Kendrick comparing zombies to leprosy.
My cousin had leprosy. It's not funny.
In the book, Bella runs out of the movie theater when she realizes that she looks and has more in common with the zombie than she does the female lead. And because they're back in the same town where she was cornered in the first book, when she sees some ne'er-do-wells, she's like, hey, those guys remind me of the people who almost assaulted me last year. I'm gonna go talk to them. Must be a sign. And then she realizes that when she puts herself in dangerous situations, she starts to see like an apparition of Edward that tells her to stop. So she might have just burned her last bridge with Jessica, but at least now she has a plan to feed her delusions. Feats of stupidity. Same though. The adrenaline gets me going.
Awesome. So you're an adrenaline junkie now?
So she finds some motorcycles and she's like, oh shit, I could get Jake to help me with these. And she's shocked at how much she genuinely enjoys being around him. He's just a literal ray of sunshine that doesn't look at her like she's about to break. Though the book makes the comment, I figured I'd have to have a Y chromosome to really understand the excitement. Okay there, Stephanie, you're the one who made Rosalie the car girl and then you pull this? And while he helps her while he's around, the emptiness seeps back in the longer she's away from him and the nightmares come back. So Charlie goes to check on her and offers up some advice that, you gotta learn to love what's good for you. Essentially saying that she should open herself up more to Jake and forget about Edward.
Of course, what do I know? I'm just a terminal bachelor, famous ladies' man.
God, Billy Burke is the best. How did he end up here? And I forgot how genuinely happy Jacob was in this book. Like, he's so miserable for the rest of the series that I actually feel bad, even though they turned him into a terminal nice guy that always thinks he knows what's best for Bella. So they get the bikes working, she hits her head and is bleeding profusely from her head, but here she sees how much easier it would be if she could just love Jacob, because to him, it's just a little blood. And it's around here that they mention some hikers going missing and that there's been large bear sightings, like sightings of large bears. So Bella decides that this is when she's gonna try and talk to people at school and backs up Angela's story about seeing them. But the book also mentions that this is the first time that Bella's actively been paying attention to the people around her. And she suddenly notices that Lauren, a girl who's been a huge bitch to her, has cut her hair into a pixie bob but then shaved the back of her head, which Bella points out is odd. But does that mean that Stephanie implying that Lauren was, sorry, I read a fanfiction where that was a thing with Lauren. She was probably just trying to be mean. But just like the book, it only takes Bella talking one time before Mike is like, yeah, I can work with this. We can be in love now. Let's go on a date. Which Bella instantly shifts to a friend outing.
We should get a bunch of people to go. Do you guys want to go see?
Watch someone die inside as it's turned into a group event. So it's movie night and everyone's bailed because they're either sick or they don't want to be around Bella, so only Mike and Jacob show up. And they both pull the hands on the armrest thing. My nightmare! So Mike gets sick and runs out of the theater, and then Jake and Bella have their big talk, where Bella, especially in the book, is very honest about how Jacob is her favorite person to be around, but she doesn't date anymore and won't be able to give him what he wants. And this is where the nice guy shift happens, where he's like, I'm prepared to be annoyingly persistent. And oh boy, is he ever. But the movie speeds things along. Jake immediately flips out on Mike for having the flu.
You want me to put you in the hospital?
Jake, the movie's over.
In the book, he's super nice the whole time and just said he's feeling weird before he goes home, but then he just stops calling. So in the book, she goes to find the meadow on her own when she doesn't hear from Jake. In the movie, she just turns up at Jake's place and he's cut off all his hair and has a tattoo now. Like, the tattoos were always the weirdest addition to me. Like, were they necessary? Oh, right. merchandise, silly me. It's the same way they made like the Volturi symbols and Cullen crests. But he basically just tells her that he's not good and to stay away. So now she goes to the meadow and has a bit of a breakdown, which I could have told her would have happened, and then Laurent is there. And at first she's excited, so happy to see some remnant of that life that she craves so much. Issue being, it appears that he did not stick to the Cullen diet he said he was gonna try, and his eyes are as red as ever. But it's cool, internal Edward realizes the danger and is like, you need to lie and say that we're just kind of like out of town and coming back. But it doesn't really work, and he tells her that Victoria is still very much interested in killing her.
After all, how much could you mean to him if he left you here unprotected?
Honestly though, Edward, are you stupid? But just as he's about to end things off, the wolves come in. And as they settle in, one takes a particularly long look at her and she thinks of Jacob, but in the book it's more so that she's just happy he's not there with her.
They're not bears.
What the hell were you doing out in the woods?
They're wolves.
And that is the face of someone who's like, aw shit, they weren't supposed to find out it wasn't a bear. But now she's paranoid that not only is Victoria gonna kill her, but her dad too. So in the book, this is where she decides that enough is enough and she drives to go visit Jacob, who can't reveal what's going on, but specifically says that if Bella wants anyone to blame for why he's acting this way, it's those filthy, reeking bloodsuckers that she loves so much. Which sends her reeling because no one's actively said the name around her in months. And she's like, hey, maybe I can try harder to love you even though I know I can't, so I'm kind of lying here. So he makes her leave, and even though he says they have to stay away from each other, that night he parkours into her bedroom, which obviously pisses her off, and then he's just kind of like, hey, do you remember that story I told you on the beach last year? And she's like, yeah, of course, the cold ones. Jacob's like, goddamn, even in the stories that are about me and my people, I come second place. But thankfully she has a dream overnight and remembers, hey, the Quileute tribe existed to fight the vampires as shape-shifting wolves. So she has a little bit of an internal crisis where she's like, oh shit, why do I only relate to mythical beings? And at this point, Bella thinks it's the wolves that are killing the hikers, even though they exist to kill vampires. But her thoughts on the matter are that you can't just turn your back on the people you love, even if they kill people. Like, no, I can fix this. The Cullens don't kill people, so I can get a handle on the wolves too. But before that, she hits him with the, could you try not being a werewolf?
Have you tried not being a mutant?
In the movie, she doesn't even have a chance to talk with him before the other wolves show up, and she's like, what did you do to them? And Paul starts laughing in her face, so she slaps him, which I gotta say is way cooler than the book where he's just really upset that Jacob found a loophole around telling her. Either way, Jacob busts onto the scene, insta-transforms, which is apparently super impressive, and goes to war with Paul in full wolf horror. But no one seems particularly concerned. Embry and Jared are literally taking bets as to which one's gonna take a chunk out of the other. So they bring her to Sam's place and they just say, hey, don't stare at Emily, it pisses Sam off. But they don't tell her why. And it turns out that Sam got angry one day, started changing, and scratched Emily in the face, leaving an entire half of her face massively scarred. So that's what Jacob meant by not being safe. Apparently, werewolves that don't want to hurt people are more dangerous than vampires who should theoretically be subsisting off of a diet of people. But Bella's able to let them know why the redhead is so obsessed with trying to get by their ranks, and even though they're shocked that it's her, it's because it's her. She wants revenge for her dead lover. Even though it's Alice that ripped off James's head, so technically she should be going after Jasper, which would honestly make things in my ideal fanfiction a hell of a lot easier to work around, sorry. So now Bella is just worried about Jacob getting hurt trying to protect her, even though they ripped Laurent apart. This is where we get the this chick runs with vampires that just got turned into all the merch, but then the probably the most awkward line of the movie.
You can't really run with vampires, because they're fast.
But the wolves are protecting her, and Bella repays this act by going cliff diving to try to bring Ghostword back.
And you're gone. And so is Edward.
That's right, equally tragic that Alice is gone.
Don't do this.
Watch me.
So she yeets herself off the ledge. There's a storm brewing, so the water's horrible, imagines Edward more clear than ever, and settles in to die with him until her chest hits the rocks and Jacob saves her. In the movie, we actually see Victoria's red hair in the water. In the book, she just sees her from a distance on the beach. The movie actually shows us a montage of the wolves hunting Victoria after she scared Harry into a heart attack, so that was neat. Not the heart attack, just the montage part. But Jacob starts to take her home, and Bella starts thinking about how in Romeo and Juliet, maybe if Romeo hadn't died and had just fucking left and Paris had been a really good friend, maybe Juliet could have been somewhat happy with Paris. And she's wondering what would happen if she shifted those boundaries with her and Jake's friendship. And then Alice shows up.
Alice?
Jake obviously tries to stop her, says it's a trap, but Bella knows it's one of the Cullens because it's Carlisle's car. And this is the part of the book where I was like, oh shit, it's not just Alice that says stuff that might mean she likes Bella a little bit more than a friend. Bella might feel that way too. My visitor waited perfectly motionless in the center of the hall, beautiful beyond imagining. Alice, oh Alice, I cried as I slammed into her. I locked my arms around her, gasping to inhale as much of the scent of her skin as possible. It wasn't like anything else. No perfume in the world could compare. Alice dragged me to the living room couch and pulled me into her lap. It was like curling up into a cool stone, but a stone that was contoured comfortingly to the shape of my body. I'm just saying that doesn't sound particularly friendly. I don't smell my friends. In the book, Alice actually sticks around for a while. She just had the vision of Bella yeeting herself off the cliff and thought she committed suicide, but it's because for some reason she can't see the wolves, so she didn't see Jake pulling her out. And because she rushed there so quickly, she needs to hunt, so when she leaves to go hunt, she kisses Bella on the cheek. Stephanie! But Alice stays the night, realizes how much damage they actually did to Bella by leaving, because Edward actively forbade her from checking in on Bella's future, but I guess, you know, when you think someone's committed suicide, it flips it because Alice is already attuned to Bella. Charlie's obviously a little bit confused, but Bella falls asleep on Alice and has the most peaceful sleep she's had in months. In the movie, Jake comes back immediately to check on her, breaking the treaty that says they can't hunt on the Cullen land.
Well, I'm not gonna hurt her.
So they obviously fight a little bit, and then Jake gets his Hulk line.
Don't get me upset.
Hey, stop.
Things are gonna get very ugly.
Stop.
So Alice goes to leave, and Bella's like, no, you'll come back.
As soon as you put the dog out.
So Jacob's obviously really irritated, but Bella's like, you'll still be my friend even though I love Alice too, right? Yeah, you do, Bella. So Jacob at this moment decides it's a good time to make a move on her, and Bella's not entirely sure if she should let it happen. And then the phone rings.
He's not here right now. He's arranging a funeral.
So now Edward thinks Bella is dead because Rosalie told him about Alice's vision. And even though he was prepared to stay away from her for life, her actively no longer being on Earth is enough for him to go get himself killed by the Volturi. Which Alice sees and is like, hey, if we leave and go to Italy right now, we have a chance to stop this from happening. And it's about here that my own personal rewrite would start. But it's cool, we'll stick with Team Edward for this, we're good. So Jacob's obviously upset and doesn't want her to go, but at least in the book, he's immediately like, don't worry, I'll protect Charlie. But in the movie, he's downright cruel.
He left you, Bella. He didn't want you anymore, remember?
Now, the movie obviously speeds things along on their way to Italy. But in the book, Bella and Alice have some genuinely nice moments. One ultimately culminating to Alice saying that Edward is ridiculous and that she might as well just change Bella herself. And Bella's like, hell yeah, let's go right here on the plane. They'll deal with the screaming. There's gotta be a euphemism here, but I promised I'd stop. So they get to Italy and Alice says they have until noon to stop him from publicly revealing himself to people in the sunlight, which would result in the Volturi instantly killing him. And Alice also stole a Porsche here, which I'm super into. Not the Porsche, just the Grand Theft Auto. So it cuts back to that scene from the intro. Bella frantically running through the streets of Volterra during the St. Marcus Day celebration, which is an altered version of the Feast of St. Mark. So that Meyer can make it a celebration of Marcus eradicating vampires from the city, except he's one of the Volturi. But just as Edward is about to step out, Bella slams into him and he thinks he's dead and gone to heaven. In the book, he specifically says Carlisle was right, meaning that he may not fully believe they're as soulless as he says. In the book, the Volturi guards are right there waiting for them, but in the movie, they have one of their intimate conversations before they head down. And it's the one where Edward is like, I couldn't live in a world without you. This wasn't because of guilt. I was lying before, and I can't believe you believed me so easily. Well, Edward, you know she has confidence issues and already felt like she wasn't worthy of you. What was she supposed to say? Actually, no, you're not allowed to leave? You can't get mad at her for believing your lies. But having that conversation first really removed some of the what-if tension. Like in the book, the entire time Edward's there, she's just kind of like, I'm just going to enjoy these little moments of his arm around me before he leaves. Like we all really knew where it was going, but you know, still. Also, somehow the vampire that shouldn't be able to look haggard looks worse than the girl who's been catatonic for essentially 6 or 7 months. So they get down to the Volturi. They just get to take a really awkward and super hilarious elevator ride. Oh my god, they're sharing a look. So the first one to see them is Arrow, who seems to be the head Volturi, and he is so delighted to see them, and I forgot how absolutely whimsical he was in this book. Michael Sheen was obviously the correct casting for this role. He goes a little bit overboard sometimes, but it works. So he has the ability to read people's minds and thoughts and memories, but he has to touch them to do so. And he's super interested in Bella because he realizes that she's Edward's singer, as in her blood sings to him. And yet he can control himself, but she's also immune to his powers. But surprise! realize his powers don't work on her either, so he wants to know if she's immune to all of their powers. So Edward, knowing what Jane's powers are, tries to stop her, so he's writhing around in pain before she redirects to Bella, and nothing happens, which pisses her off. In the book, this immediately interests Arrow because he's a collector of vampires with abilities and is super interested in how Bella's would present. But in the movie, he's instantly like, oh, well, what a pity. You revealed yourself to humans. We must kill her. So there's a huge fight. Edward almost dies, and we get another of my favorite scenes where Bella is freaking out and basically falling inside herself. I love it, and Arrow's also just shocked that someone would be willing to sacrifice themselves for a vampire, which shouldn't be that shocking because they have people that work for them that would sacrifice themselves to vampires just in the hopes of becoming one. And that's the thing, these movies always add more action. It's not always great, but this scene was really, I like this one. So the only thing that stops them from killing Bella is when Alice is like, hey, I've seen the future. She will be a vampire. I'll do it myself. And Arrow's like, what an amazing talent. Okay, cool, because if we let you go now, there's a chance that you might come back willingly. And if you don't change her, we'll just kill you. All of you. And they leave just as the Volturi bring in a tour group for lunch, but not before Bella can hear the screaming. In the book, they have to awkwardly hang around in the lobby until it's dark out and then go through the process of taking all the flights back. The movie just has it cut from the screaming to Bella in bed so that it's like she's having a nightmare of what she saw in Italy, which is honestly a great tool to condense the story down. And it also means we don't get the scene of Jasper meeting Alice at the airport and then you visibly see their love for each other. So I can just pretend it doesn't happen. So now she and Edward have the second emotional chat where he again goes over the fact that he left to try to give her a chance at a normal human life. But he had to know what was gonna happen. He at least should have let Alice keep an eye out and then just stayed away from Alice for a while so that he wouldn't read her mind. In the book, it's also revealed that he didn't destroy the gifts, he just hid them under her floorboard. And that's her way of reasoning that she knew he really did love her and that their connection couldn't be so easily broken, and that's why she was having visions of him. Like, sure, we'll go with that, I guess. Either way, Bella is super stoked that she's finally gonna be a vampire, and Edward's like, oh, yeah, that's not gonna happen. They're gonna completely forget about this until you're at least 30, and then we'll just like hide you because their tracker can't use his powers on you. Totally ignoring the fact that Arrow would just need to touch one of the ones that hid her for him to find her. So she's like, okay, time to go find Alice. So they head out to put her mortality to a vote with the Cullens because at this point, it concerns them too.
So you don't know what you're talking about.
So they all vote yes, except for Rosalie, who's like, look, I wish someone had been there to vote no for me. It has nothing to do with you. And Emmett's like, fuck my wife, I vote yes.
I vote hell yeah.
So Carlisle agrees to do it mostly because Edward has established that he won't live without her, but that it would be good to wait till after graduation. But Edward's like, hey, wouldn't you much rather if I did it? Okay, give me 5 years. No, 3 years. Okay, I've decided that your soul is worth marriage. Again, there's got to be some unintended parallels there. Don't worry, we didn't forget about Jacob. In the movie, it happens before the marriage thing's brought up. In the book, he's a massive douche who told Charlie about the motorcycles, which could have given him a heart attack to try to get Bella in trouble. And then reminds Edward that, hey, the treaty isn't just about killing humans. If you bite a human, the treaty is void and will kill you. He even thought that it was Edward keeping her away from LaPush, not the fact that she was ultra grounded. In the movie, she ultra lays down the laws and just begs him not to make an ultimatum because it's always going to be Edward.
Don't make me choose, because it'll be him. It's always been him.
Like, thanks for helping me out of my catatonic state, but I warned you. So the movie swapped things around so that the movie actually ends with Edward saying, marry me, and then you get the gasp from Bella, which was a great ending, I will admit. That was a good choice.
Marry me, Bella.
The book ends with Charlie yelling. So that is New Moon in all its melodrama glory. I truly love it. What were some of your favorite parts of the story? Why do you like or not like New Moon? And now a message from our kind sponsors. Now look, there's no reason to be like Bella watching the seasons pass by outside your window just because you've run out of quality entertainment. By connecting to one of ExpressVPN's many fast and secure server locations, you can make your internet think you're in a different country to take advantage of region-locked content. Region-locked content like Twilight, which may not be available on Netflix where you live, but it is available in Canada. Not you can experience your melancholy while watching some of the world's best content. Missing The Office but live in the US? Connect to a Canadian server and you're good to go. I use ExpressVPN all the time to watch shows and movies that aren't available where I live. Right now I'm using it to go back through Twin Peaks. And it's not just Netflix, you can use it for any streaming service like BBC iPlayer. It's super fast, available on all your devices, and I never run into buffering issues. So if you want to try out ExpressVPN for yourself and find out how to get 3 months free, head on over to expressvpn.com/Jedi or click the link in the description down below. So that is going to do it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Thanks as always to my Patreon supporters. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a like on the video if you're into that kind of thing. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I'm mostly okay, and we'll catch you all later.